The Judgment. Commander Sophia Rice stood rigid in the center of the Galactic Assembly Chamber, her black uniform with red trim. Earth's colors. A stark contrast to the swirling, shimmering fabrics and bioluminescent appendages of the alien representatives surrounding her. The massive chamber, carved from a single asteroid of pure iridium, stretched in concentric rings that rose hundreds of meters above her. Each ring held representatives from thousands of species, all watching her with unblinking eyes, chittering mandibles, or pulsing sensory organs. The primary speaker, a towering creature with translucent skin that revealed swirling patterns of light beneath, hovered forward. Its voice resonated through the chamber without seeming to come from any specific part of its body. After deliberation spanning 17 solar cycles, the Assembly has reached consensus regarding humanity's petition for membership, the primary speaker announced. The decision is denial. A collective murmur rippled through the chamber. Sophia's hands clenched into fists at her sides, her knuckles whitening. 5 years of diplomacy, demonstrations of human art and culture, scientific exchange, all rejected in a single word. On what grounds? Sophia asked, her voice steady despite the anger and disappointment churning inside her. Humanity's psychological profile indicates fundamental incompatibility with Assembly values, the primary speaker continued. Your species exhibits excessive aggression, territorial expansion impulses, and dangerous technological innovation rates. Furthermore, your biological and societal adaptability presents an unacceptable risk factor. Sophia took a single step forward. We've overcome our violent past. We've unified our planet, eliminated poverty, developed sustainable technologies. We've met every criterion in your charter. You misunderstand. A representative from the mutant collective interjected, its multiple eyes blinking in sequence. It is not your past that concerns us. It is your potential future. The primary speaker's inner lights pulsed in agreement. Predictive algorithms indicate an 87.3% probability that within 300 cycles, humanity would achieve dominant status within the Assembly if granted membership. This is unacceptable. Sophia stared in disbelief. You're rejecting us because we might become too successful. We are rejecting you because you represent instability, the primary speaker corrected. The Assembly has maintained peace for 12,000 cycles through careful balance. Your species would disrupt that balance. Somewhere in the upper rings, a representative from the Centauri Compact stood. I register formal objection to this decision. Humanity has proven to be valuable trade partners and cultural contributors. Objection noted and overruled. The primary speaker replied without hesitation. The decision is final. On the massive screens surrounding the chamber, images appeared of Assembly ships moving into position around Earth's solar system. Sophia's blood ran cold as she recognized the formation. The quarantine protocol is now in effect. The primary speaker announced. Humanity will be contained within its solar system. All faster-than-light technology will be confiscated. All human outposts beyond Sol will be evacuated. This measure is for the greater stability of the galactic community. You can't do this, Sophia protested, her diplomatic training finally cracking under the weight of the injustice. We have sovereign colonies. We have treaty agreements with multiple species. All agreements are henceforth invalidated, the primary speaker stated. The quarantine will be enforced by the Assembly fleet. Resistance will result in escalation. Sophia looked around the chamber, seeking allies, but most representatives averted their gaze or censors. Only a few, the Centauri, the Oroso, and surprisingly, the normally reclusive Vec, showed signs of disagreement. This is a mistake, Sophia said quietly, but her voice carried throughout the chamber. In your 12,000 cycles of existence, has any species ever accepted imprisonment peacefully? The chamber fell silent. Even the primary speaker's internal lights dimmed slightly. History has shown, Sophia continued, that when you try to contain something with unlimited potential, you don't create peace. You create pressure, and pressure always finds a way out. The primary speaker's lights pulsed rapidly. Escort the human representative to her vessel. The assembly has spoken. As guards approached, Sophia stood tall. Remember this moment, she called out, her voice echoing through the chamber. Remember when you chose fear over friendship, when humanity returns to the stars. And we will return. You'll regret not having us as allies. 10 years passed. Earth underwent profound changes after the Assembly's quarantine. The sudden isolation shocked humanity's economic systems, cut off colonial resources, and stranded thousands of humans who had been traveling or living beyond Sol. But after the initial chaos came something unexpected: unity. Dr. Amara Okafor, one of Earth's leading quantum physicists, stood in the control room of Project Prometheus, buried 3 kilometers beneath the Antarctic ice. The facility had been built in secret, shielded from assembly monitoring satellites by a combination of depth and experimental distortion fields. System check complete, her assistant announced. All parameters nominal. Amara nodded, her eyes fixed on the device at the center of the chamber, a small, unassuming cube of silvery metal roughly the size of a toaster. It didn't look like something that could change the course of human history. Begin Phase 1, she ordered. Around her, 50 scientists and engineers watched with bated breath as power flowed into the cube. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the air around the device seemed to shimmer as if heat was rising from it. Quantum field stabilizing. Someone reported. Subspace contact in 3, 2, 1. The cube pulsed once, a brief blue flash, and then returned to its inert state. Everyone stared at the monitors. Did it work? Asked General Mateo Sanchez, the military liaison to the project. Amara checked the readings, her hands trembling slightly. Yes, it worked. We've successfully created a stable wormhole outside of normal space-time. The room erupted in cheers. 10 years of research, billions in resources, thousands of brilliant minds working together. It had paid off. How long until we can scale it up? Mateo asked once the celebration quieted. 6 months for a communication relay, Amara replied. 2 years for a ship-sized portal. Mateo nodded slowly. And the assembly won't be able to detect it. That's the beauty of it, Amara said, her voice rising with excitement. They're looking for distortions in regular space. This creates a passage through a dimension they don't even monitor. It's like we're building a tunnel beneath their wall. And the range? Theoretically unlimited, Amara said. But practically, we can reach at least the neighboring galactic arm with the power we can generate. Mateo whistled softly. The assembly restricted us to our solar system, thinking they were being merciful by not destroying us outright. Their mistake, Amara replied with a small smile. They put us in a pressure cooker and turned up the heat. All they've done is accelerate our evolution. 5 years later, the first human ship to leave the solar system since the quarantine slipped quietly through a shimmering portal just beyond Pluto's orbit. The HSS Pathfinder was small, designed for stealth and speed rather than comfort. Its crew of 12 represented Earth's finest: pilots, scientists, diplomats. Captain Raj Patel stood on the bridge, watching as the portal closed behind them. Ahead lay the stars of the Cygnus Arm, unexplored by humanity, but far from the Assembly's core worlds. Portal transit complete, his navigator reported. All systems nominal. Set course for the Epsilon Eridani system, Raj ordered. Let's see if our friends are still waiting for us. The Pathfinder accelerated to speeds that would have been impossible with pre-quarantine technology. The isolation had forced humanity to innovate, to find new solutions to old problems. Efficiency had replaced excess, cooperation had replaced competition, and the result was technology that had leapfrogged what the Assembly had permitted. 3 days later, the Pathfinder entered the Epsilon Eridani system. According to intelligence gathered before the quarantine, this system had been home to a small trading outpost of the Eroso, one of the few Assembly species that had shown support for humanity. I'm detecting a station in orbit around the 4th planet, the sensor officer reported. But it's not Oroso in design. Hail them, Raj ordered. A moment later, the main screen activated, showing a startling sight, a mixed crew of aliens. Raj recognized representatives of the Oroso, the Centauri, and the Vec, along with several species he didn't immediately identify. "This is Captain Raj Patel of the Earth ship Pathfinder," he announced. "We come in peace." The alien at the center of the group, a Centauri with coppery skin and 4 arms, leaned forward. "Humans, you've broken the quarantine." Its translator rendered its clicks and whistles into accented English. "We've found a way around it," Raj confirmed. "Who am I addressing?" "I am Koran, once of the Centauri Compact, now of the Outcast Alliance," the alien replied. "This station is called Haven. We've been waiting for you." Raj blinked in surprise. "You've been waiting for humans specifically." "We found a way around it," Raj confirmed. "Who am I addressing?" "I am Koran, once of the Centauri Compact, now of the Outcast Alliance," the alien replied. "This station is called Haven. We've been waiting for you." Raj blinked in surprise. "You've been waiting for humans specifically." "For 10 years, Koran confirmed. "Since the Assembly's unjust decision. We are all here because we disagreed with the Assembly's policies one way or another." "You're outcasts," Raj realized. "Like us." "Precisely." Koran's mandibles clicked in what Raj recognized as a smile. "And now that you're here, perhaps we can become something more than outcasts. Perhaps we can become a power in our own right." Raj felt a surge of hope. Humanity wasn't alone in its struggle against the Assembly's control. "I believe we have much to discuss, Koran of the Outcast Alliance, and much to offer each other." "Indeed," Koran replied. "Welcome to the beginning of a new era, Captain Patel." As the Pathfinder docked with Haven Station, Raj knew that this was just the first step. Humanity had found allies among the stars, other species who chafed under the Assembly's restrictive order. Together, they would build something new, a true alliance of equals, not the hierarchical structure of the Assembly. And when they were ready, they would return to confront those who had cast them out. The quarantine hadn't imprisoned humanity. It had merely delayed the inevitable, humanity's rise among the stars. The reckoning. 25 years after humanity's banishment, the landscape of the galaxy had changed dramatically. What had begun as the small outcast alliance in the Epsilon Eridani system had grown into a thriving network of colonies, trading hubs, and industrial centers spanning 3 galactic sectors, all operating beyond the Assembly's notice. Admiral Sophia Reyes, now with silver streaks in her black hair and the weight of 2 decades of responsibility on her shoulders, stood on the observation deck of Nexus Station, the heart of what was now called the Free Systems Confederation. Below her, ships of a dozen different designs moved through the massive docking bays, human vessels alongside those of their alien allies. "The Vec delegation has arrived, Admiral," her aide reported. "They're requesting to begin the summit immediately." Sophia nodded. "Tell them I'll be there shortly." The door hissed open, and a familiar face entered. Raj Patel, now Director of Intelligence for the Confederation, approached with a data pad in hand. His once youthful face was lined with experience, but his eyes still held the same determination she remembered from their days at the Academy. "You should see this before the summit," he said without preamble, offering her the pad. Sophia scanned the report, her expression darkening. "They finally found us." A routine patrol ship detected unusual energy signatures near the Arcturus outpost, Raj confirmed. "They didn't engage, but they definitely scanned the settlement before jumping out. I've already ordered an evacuation." "It was inevitable," Sophia sighed. "We've grown too big to hide forever." "How long?" "Our analysts estimate 3 months before they can organize a proper investigative fleet," Raj replied. 6 months before they could mount any kind of military response. Sophia handed the pad back. "We'll need to accelerate the timetable. Is the Vanguard fleet ready?" 90% operational, Raj said. The last of the Defiance-class carriers completed trials last week. And Project Helios. Rad's expression turned grave. Dr. Okafor says it will be ready, but she's concerned about deployment without more testing. Sophia turned back to the viewport, watching as a massive ship, the FSS Prometheus, the Confederation's first true dreadnought, moved slowly into dock. Its hull gleamed with the distinctive blue-black alloy that had become the signature of human shipbuilding technology. "We don't have the luxury of more testing," she said quietly. "Not anymore." On Nexus Station's central concourse, species that would never have cooperated under assembly rule worked side by side. Humans, Centauri, Oroso, Vec, and a dozen other species had formed a society that valued innovation and cooperation above the rigid stability the assembly prized. Dr. Amara Okafor, now the Confederation's Director of Scientific Development, moved through the crowds toward the main conference center. 25 years of working beyond the Assembly's regulations had produced technological wonders: quantum communication networks, gravity manipulation, energy generation systems that dwarfed anything the Assembly permitted. Inside the conference chamber, representatives from all member species gathered around a holographic display of the known galaxy. The Assembly's territory glowed in cold blue, while the Confederation's hidden network pulsed in vibrant green. "The Assembly has discovered our presence," Sophia announced without preamble as she entered the chamber. "We estimate 6 months before they mount a military response." A ripple of concern passed through the gathered representatives. The Vec delegate, a massive insectoid with iridescent wings, clicked its mandibles in agitation. "Are we prepared for conflict?" it asked, its translator rendering the clicks and whistles into smooth speech. "We've been preparing for 25 years, Sophia replied. "But I prefer to negotiate from a position of strength, rather than engage in open warfare." Coron, now the Centauri representative to the Confederation Council, leaned forward. "The Assembly does not negotiate with what it considers rebellious elements. They will demand our surrender and reintegration into their system. Then we'll have to convince them that's not an option," Sophia said firmly. "The Vanguard fleet will be ready within 2 months. I propose we take the initiative, reveal ourselves on our terms, not theirs." The Oroso delegate, a willowy being with pale blue skin, raised a delicate hand. "Many of our people still have family within assembly space. If this leads to war, which is precisely why we must act from a position of overwhelming strength," Sophia countered. "The Assembly respects power. If we demonstrate that attacking us would be too costly, they'll be forced to negotiate." After hours of debate, the Council reached consensus. Operation Daybreak was approved, a coordinated revelation of the Confederation's existence to the Assembly, backed by a show of military force that would make any rational species think twice about attacking. As the delegates filed out, Amara approached Sophia. "I need to speak with you about Project Helios." Sophia nodded, leading her to a private conference room. "What's the status?" "The core technology works," Amara said once they were alone. "We can selectively disrupt any faster-than-light drive within a 20 light-year radius, but the power requirements are enormous, and we haven't fully tested the effects on inhabited systems." "Can it be deployed in 6 months?" Sophia asked. Amara hesitated. "Yes, but I'm concerned about using it without knowing all the potential consequences." "I understand your concerns," Sophia said, placing a hand on her old friend's shoulder. "But we need every advantage. The Assembly outnumbers us 20-1. If Project Helios can neutralize their fleet without bloodshed, we have to use it. And if it does more than neutralize their fleet," Amara asked quietly, "what if it affects planetary systems?" Sophia's expression hardened. "Then we'll have to live with that consequence. But the alternative is submission to a power that would rather imprison us than see us reach our potential. I won't allow that to happen, not after everything we've built." 3 months later, the Assembly's investigative fleet arrived at the edge of what had once been considered empty space. What they found shocked them to their core: a fully developed colony with advanced defense systems, shipyards, and a small defense fleet. High Commander Xirax of the Assembly Security Force stood on the bridge of the implacable order, watching as scans revealed the extent of the human presence. The Thraxi commander's scaled skin flushed a deep purple with anger. "Impossible," he muttered. "The quarantine was absolute. How could they have established this without our knowledge?" "Unknown, High Commander," his second replied. "But preliminary scans indicate technology beyond authorized development paths. The humans appear to have evolved." Xirax's compound eyes narrowed. "Evolved or not, they have violated the Assembly's highest law. Open a channel to the colony." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the human in a uniform Xirax didn't recognize. "This is Governor Maya Chen of New Horizon Colony," the human said calmly. "You are approaching sovereign territory of the Free Systems Confederation. State your intentions." "Confederation," Xirax hissed. "There is no recognized entity by that name. You are in violation of Assembly Quarantine Directive 773C. Your colony is illegal and must be dismantled immediately." The human's expression didn't change. "The Free Systems Confederation doesn't recognize the Assembly's authority in this region. We are a sovereign power comprising 17 species and 43 star systems. I suggest you consult with your superiors before making threats." Xirax's scales rippled with shock. 17 species, 43 systems. "You're lying." "I have no reason to lie, High Commander," Maya replied. "The Assembly abandoned us 25 years ago. We've built something new in your absence, something better." "You have 24 hours to begin evacuation procedures," Xirax declared. "After that, this colony will be removed by force." The human governor actually smiled. "I wouldn't recommend that course of action, Commander, but you're welcome to try." As the transmission ended, Xirax turned to his tactical officer. "Scan for defense systems. I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." "Sir," the officer replied, voice tight with tension. "I'm detecting multiple ships approaching from the outer system. They weren't there a moment ago." On the tactical display, dozens of ships suddenly appeared, as if materializing from nowhere. At their center was a massive vessel unlike anything in the Assembly's records. "Impossible," Xirax whispered. "Sound battle stations." Aboard the FSS Defiance, Admiral Sophia Reyes watched as the Confederation's first true battle fleet emerged from dimensional shift, surrounding the Assembly Investigation Force. Her flagship, 3 kilometers of advanced alloys and weapon systems, dwarfed the Assembly vessels. "All ships in position," her tactical officer reported. "The Assembly fleet is powering weapons." "Open a channel," Sophia ordered. When the Thraxi commander appeared on screen, she recognized him immediately. Xirax had been one of the most vocal opponents of human membership in the Assembly years ago. "This is Admiral Sophia Reyes of the Free Systems Confederation," she began. "I recommend you power down your weapons, Commander Xirax. Your ships are outmatched and outgunned." The Thraxi's scales shifted to a deeper purple. "Reyes?" The diplomat. "How did you?" 25 years is a long time, Commander," Sophia interrupted. "While you were patrolling our empty solar system, we were building something new. Your scans won't show you everything, but I assure you, this is only a fraction of our capability." "The Assembly will never allow this rebellion," Xirax hissed. "This isn't a rebellion," Sophia corrected. "This is a new power in the galaxy, one that values freedom and innovation over stagnation and control. You have a choice now. Return to your superiors with our offer of diplomatic recognition, or test our resolve." The Thraxi commander's compound eyes narrowed. "And if I choose the latter, then you'll discover exactly how much we've evolved in our exile," Sophia replied calmly. For a long moment, tension hung in the vacuum between the two fleets. Then, reluctantly, the Assembly ships powered down their weapons. "This isn't over," Xirax warned. "The Assembly will never recognize your Confederation. Then the Assembly will find itself increasingly irrelevant," Sophia replied. The galaxy is changing, Commander. You can change with it, or be left behind. As the assembly ships retreated, Sophia felt a weight lift from her shoulders. This was only the beginning. The assembly would return with a larger force, but they had bought time. Time to consolidate, to prepare, and to reveal to the galaxy that there was an alternative to the assembly's stagnant order. 6 months later, the largest fleet in assembly history gathered at the edge of what they now called the Rebellion Zone. 5,000 ships, representing the combined might of the assembly's member species, prepared to crush the upstart Confederation. Grand Admiral Torvik, Supreme Commander of the Assembly Forces, stood on the command deck of the Eternal Dominion, the Assembly's most powerful dreadnought. Around him, representatives from the Assembly's ruling council watched the final preparations. The rebel forces have been tracked to their central hub, Torvik announced. Our intelligence suggests they call it Nexus Station. It appears to be their command center and primary shipyard. And you're certain we can crush them in a single strike? Asked the Mutin representative. Absolutely, Torvik replied confidently. Their technology may have advanced beyond expectations, but nothing can stand against the combined might of the Assembly. Their fleet numbers less than 300 vessels. Then proceed, Grand Admiral, the primary speaker ordered. End this rebellion before it spreads further. Torvik nodded to his communications officer. All ships, prepare for synchronized jump. Target coordinates locked. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The massive fleet vanished into faster-than-light transit, emerging minutes later in the Arcturus system, where intelligence had located the Confederation's headquarters. But instead of finding a vulnerable station, they found themselves surrounded by strange devices, small, unassuming satellites that pulsed with blue energy. What are those? Torvik demanded. Scan them immediately. Before his officers could respond, the satellites activated. A wave of energy washed over the assembly fleet, and suddenly, every ship's faster-than-light drive failed simultaneously. Warning alarms blared across the command deck. FTL systems offline, the engineering officer reported frantically. Some kind of dampening field. We can't jump. That's impossible, Torvik growled. No technology can selectively target FTL drives across an entire fleet. Apparently, the humans have managed the impossible, the Mutin representative observed dryly. On the main view screen, space itself seemed to ripple, and a fleet of Confederation ships emerge, not from conventional FTL transit, but from what appeared to be tiers in the fabric of space itself. At the center of the Confederation fleet was a massive vessel that dwarfed even the Eternal Dominion. Its hull bore the name FSS Prometheus. Incoming transmission, the communications officer announced. The screen filled with the image of a human woman with silver-streaked black hair, wearing an admiral's uniform. Behind her stood representatives of multiple species, some of whom Torvik recognized as former assembly members. This is Admiral Sophia Reyes of the Free Systems Confederation, she began. Your fleet is currently within a dimensional anchor field. Your faster-than-light capabilities have been neutralized and will remain so until we deactivate the field. You cannot escape, and you cannot call for reinforcements. Torvik's face darkened with rage. What is the meaning of this? This is a demonstration, Sophia replied calmly. One that will save lives if you're wise enough to understand it. We could destroy your fleet right now, but that's not our intention. We want peace, not war. Peace on your terms. Torvik scoffed. Peace on equal terms, Sophia corrected. Recognition of the Confederation as a sovereign power. Non-aggression pacts. Open borders for those who wish to travel between our territories. And most importantly, an end to the Assembly's policy of technological restriction. The Assembly will never agree to such terms, the primary speaker declared, stepping into view. Then the Assembly will find itself increasingly isolated, Sophia replied. Already, 7 of your member species have applied for Confederation membership. Your economic models are collapsing as trade routes shift to our territory. The galaxy is changing, and you can either change with it or fight a war you cannot win. To emphasize her point, she nodded to someone off-screen. The view screen split to show images of dozens of Confederation outposts, shipyards, and colonies, all thriving, all beyond the assembly's reach. "This is what freedom looks like," Sophia continued. "This is what happens when you allow species to reach their full potential instead of constraining them with artificial limitations. We built this while you thought us safely imprisoned in our solar system. Imagine what we could build together if we cooperated instead of fought." Silence fell over the assembly command deck. Torvik looked to the primary speaker, whose internal lights pulsed rapidly as it communicated with the other council members. "We will consider your proposal," the primary speaker finally said. "But first, deactivate this field and allow our fleet to return. As a gesture of goodwill, we'll allow 10 of your ships, including your flagship, to return to assembly space with our proposal," Sophia countered. "The rest will remain here until negotiations are complete. Consider them guests, not prisoners." The primary speaker's lights dimmed in what might have been resignation. "You leave us little choice." "On the contrary," Sophia replied, her voice softening slightly. "We're giving you the choice the assembly never gave us. The choice to adapt and grow instead of being left behind." As the transmission ended, Torvik turned to the primary speaker. "We cannot seriously consider negotiating with these rebels. Look around you, Grand Admiral." The primary speaker replied, gesturing to the screens showing the Confederation's achievements. "In 25 years, they have accomplished what we believed would take centuries. They have dimensional technology we don't understand, weapons we cannot counter, and allies from among our own ranks." The primary speaker's lights pulsed slowly. "The Assembly has maintained stability for 12,000 cycles by adapting when necessary. I believe that time has come again." As arrangements were made for the return of the diplomatic contingent, Torvik stared at the massive Confederation flagship. The humans had done the impossible. They had not only survived their exile, they had thrived. They had built something that challenged the fundamental order of the galaxy. And deep down, Torvik couldn't help but wonder if perhaps that was exactly what the galaxy needed. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Sophia watched as the selected assembly ships departed, carrying her proposal back to their territory. Beside her stood representatives of the Confederation's founding species: humans, Centauri, Oroso, and Vec. "Do you think they'll accept?" asked Korin, his copper skin gleaming under the bridge lights. "Eventually," Sophia replied. "They may fight it at first, but reality has a way of asserting itself. The Assembly exists because it serves its members. When it stops serving them, it will change or it will fall." She turned to face the view screen, where the immobilized Assembly fleet hung suspended in space, a testament to how far humanity had come from its days of isolation. 25 years ago, they tried to clip our wings," she said softly. "Instead, they taught us how to soar." The quarantine that had been meant to contain humanity had instead unleashed its greatest potential, not just for humans, but for all species who dared to dream of something better. The galaxy would never be the same again. And as the Prometheus turned toward Nexus Station, Sophia knew that this was just the beginning. The stars were finally within reach, not just for humanity, but for all who chose to reach for them together.